hear a player, that has actually helped South Africa change the way we play. I mean, we're playing a better brand of rugby. We don't understand what Mani Lebok has brought to the game for us. His attacking ability, keeping the defense honest.
I'll challenge that quickly. I mean, just on the Apollo playing a certain brand of rugby, we kind of fell back into that old style of rugby, and maybe that's not best suited for Mani. That's not necessarily optimal for him. That's not what brings out the best in him, right? And I would argue maybe that was the wrong strategy on Saturday, more than just him being not maybe the best kicker. The outcry or the behaviour that people have had. I'm going to add some vulgar language in there quickly. Have some fucking class, people. All right, guys. So I've got Matt and Hersh here with me today. We're going to talk a little bit about weekend 3 of the Rugby World Cup. Couple of interesting results, and obviously some other things we want to talk about. So I think we'll start off a little bit about the social media outcry and talk about just the shocking kind of personalities that are out there and the way people are treating people online. If you go to Mani Lebok's Instagram, it really is quite scary the way that people are talking to him on there. And I think, we're all obviously a little bit frustrated with the missed kicks and all of that. But I don't really like the way that people are approaching it. I've never really believed in keyboard warriors. If you have an issue, you have a conversation with someone, and having an outcry and calling people names on social media is just absolutely shocking behavior. I mean, Hersh, you obviously also pointed this out over the weekend. What's your views on this? I mean, do you think there's any world where this is justified?
I do think frustration is justifiable. I just think that when the nation has been stronger together, that slogan has always been stronger together. I think for me that was just like when I was seeing the comments on the book, and then like show that, this for me it was like there was nothing stronger together than it. It was so ridiculous. I've never ever seen a player get so much backlash. We all know like Billy went through it. But when you look at a player like Mani Lebok, yes, he kicks missed, and it cost us the game, but also kicked some penalties. Also, he also missed some of the kicks. Back in the Apollo also we've never seen any influx of swearing or making Mani Lebok know that he is H-I-T. We've never seen that before. But here, a player, that has actually helped South Africa change the way we play. I mean, we're playing a better brand of rugby. I mean, we all want to watch the game. We saw the game 35-7. New Zealand didn't know what was happening to them. Played against Wales. We beat Wales 50, 54, 16 or something. Yeah, correct. I mean, our brand of rugby has changed because of Mani Lebok. Now we are crying for a player like Andre Pollard, that hasn't played international rugby since 2019, So
no, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah, he played last.
He played last year. So I mean, for me, it's like, we don't understand we don't understand what Mani Lebok has brought to the game for us. I'm not saying Mani Lebok is God. I'm not saying Mani Lebok is the only player that's beneath, but his attacking ability, keeping the defense honest. When Pollard sits in the pocket, we know he's going to kick. When Pollard plays flat, we know he's going to make a dummy and then crash up. If he plays like an inside center with Mani Lebok, he's a bit more like you don't know what you actually have with Mani Lebok. But
more
just
so I'll challenge that quickly. I mean, just on the Apollo playing a certain brand of rugby. And, we'll get back to the social media aspect, but, we saw a little bit of it maybe in the Irish game where we kind of fell back into that old style of rugby, and maybe that's not best suited for Mani, right? And again, not about Mani being the right choice or not, but if we played that type of rugby, or we try to do we're going to do the scoreboard, 3-point pressure at every opportunity we get, that's not necessarily optimal for him. That's not what brings out the best in him, right? And I would argue maybe that was the wrong strategy on Saturday, more than just him being not maybe the best kicker. And again, we've seen it with Pollard as well. He went through phases and stuff. So I think the big thing is the outcry or the behavior that people have had and the way that they reacted to it. And look, again, frustration is real. I mean, man, I was super fucking frustrated during that game. Like every missed kick, I was like, you fuck. Like, what is wrong with you guys? But it wasn't necessarily about the missed kick. Some of them were, but it was about the fact that we were choosing to play that game when we don't have a 90% goal kicker. Like, why are we choosing to play that game then?
Manila Box made one conversion and one penalty. Pakistan made two penalties, Pakistan 6 points, and Mane 5. Together it's 11 points. And that's 11 points we missed. But what makes me confused is that I think what the public don't understand is that, or maybe like where my frustration comes in, is like we beat New Zealand 35-7. I think the expectation we had is we're going to play front football with the forwards and we're going to dominate them and we're going to accumulate penalties that will eventually accumulate yellow cards. We didn't play like that. We were totally different. 12 breakdowns, they were turned over from us by the Irish. It was like either get a penalty or we get scruffy ball, the ball was knocked on, or anything just happened. 12 of those, and that is because of general play. What I would have assumed is that we get the penalty, Mane Lebok can kick with his left and he can kick with his right. Get the ball down there and get a more.
Dominate. I mean, that's what we expected when they did the 7-1 split as well, right? Okay, you're going to come and do what you did against New Zealand. You're going to kick to the corner, you're going to get the yellow, and you're going to them out of the game. And that, I think that to me was the frustrating. So look, maybe we'll get into the game a little bit shortly. But I think just on the Mane, and we can extend this, Matt. I'll come to you now with the Oz lash out with Eddie. So look, again, obviously, just wow. I mean, Oz is all but out of the World Cup. They're not officially yet, but it's basically going to take Portugal, I think, to go beat Fiji for Oz to have a chance. Which odds are pretty. Look, Portuguese are showing some tenacity. More importantly, even Michael Hooper came to Eddie's regard, right? And he said, like, it's not all on Eddie. And that's because of the social media lash outs. It's because of the way that people are calling out Eddie. And I think a lot of people forget that he only took over in Jan. Like, you cannot, and yes, there was a lot of maybe selection mistakes that we could argue, but we don't know what that vibe was in the camp with those guys there. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the game as well, but more on the social media outcry. And yes, there's obviously right to be frustrated and go, wow, where's Australia rugby going to go from here? Because that is the question now. But to be asked to
outcry, I honestly don't think it's outcry. Like, we need to use a better word. Cyberbullying. It's literally cyberbullying. We have people going into his comments about him going for a kick. It's like literally cyberbullying. And saying someone that has actually contributed so much to the game for South Africa, like literally the game has changed because we have a type of player that's in there. That no-look kicker, we used to be all praised it, we all went on social media. He was like, oh my God, the Lionel Messi of rugby. No look, but no one has done it. I mean, this guy has only played 11 tests for South Africa. I mean,
he's only going to grow. It's only going to be better.
It's only going to go better. But now we have people that's attacking a player like him that has won the URC, that has a 74 to 80% ratio in their kicking. Clearly, he's feeling the pressure. I mean, there is pressure on his back.
But so look, we'll get into the squad and team selection and stuff now. I think that's the point, right? Like, Matt, what's your take on this? And the social media, cyberbullying, the bullshit that's going on against people.
Yeah, so to add my 2 cents to the situation, look, I'm looking at things from a logical point, and I don't understand why. I understand the frustration, and I understand, people are passionate about their rugby in South Africa. Therefore, they tend to get angry and emotional when things don't go the way they want it to go. But the things that they leave out is they need to understand that expectation leads to disappointment. Number one. Number two, for me, it's like show some class and take a loss. It's at the end of the day, it's a game. It's a ball game. You don't have to go and climb into the person's character, because I can tell you right now, he didn't intend on making those mistakes. It is what it is. It's a mistake. So he knows he messed up. He doesn't need people to tell him that he messed up. He knows. So it's unnecessary. Let's put it that way. It's down to being unnecessary. But this is also something that I think you can expect, because when you look at the South Africans in general, they're not how it is when you go on the road and stuff. These guys are not exactly polite all at the most of times. So what's going to happen is I could expect these comments, coming from them towards money, but is it something that we should approve of? No, obviously not. So it's a thing about just understanding that it is the way it is. Like Sia said. Sia actually said this in an interview. He said, we don't want to keep ourselves down for too long. It doesn't solve any problems. We just need to move on, learn from our mistakes, because our goal is to win the World Cup. That's what it is. So it's a post-match type of thing now. He knows he messed up. For you to go and tell, hey, listen, you messed up. What's it going to prove, or what are you achieving? Because at the end of the day, he already knows this. It's like you're telling him something that's common sense, but obviously with vulgar language and that sort of thing, which is even necessary. So, for me,
I'm going to add some vulgar language in there quickly. Have some fucking class, people.
Thank you.
Really, we have a much bigger thing that we're trying to achieve here, and that is it's a big learning curve that I think hopefully the guys took from the game on Saturday. That's if we're going to play a certain games, like you as a team, we have to decide. We have strengths and weaknesses. What are we playing to? We want to play to our strengths. If you have a weakness, don't overexpose it. Try and avoid exposing that weakness. But when that weakness gets shown, I expect people to be better. Like, I will never condone that shit. It is unacceptable for us to be ahead. We want to be better than that.
I don't want to fixate on this, but like it just felt a bit more deeper, that attack against Mani Labok. Like it just felt personal in a sense, where I was like reading all that comments. I mean, there was some great comments, people like, we're behind you and all that stuff, but there was like certain people that was just, it was almost like, it's like, Afrikaans, you're a folk, but I spoke beter. Like that's fine for me. It's like,
you're not attacking his characters. Like, I'm fucking frustrated.
But you know what? It was more. It felt a bit more deeper, and for me, that is where I've seen a lot of people, come together and be like, you know what, Mani, close your eyes from this, or close your ears from this. We believe you, and for me, that was the beauty of that.
Yeah, so I'll add to that as well as, like, obviously the comments. A lot of people called out those people on those threads. I mean, the people that were decks, they were being called out heavily. So I did enjoy seeing that side of it, but just again, guys, just be better. So let's hop onto the game then. So,
I just wanted to say. So the other thing is that just to add on a quick one, it's a bit I just want to close. It's a bit if hypocritical, for lack of a better word, when it comes to Mani, because when he did play a game and he got 100% kicking accuracy, nobody had a problem with that. Nobody said anything, and they accepted him. People. I remember people putting in, posting videos of him like looking right, left, and kicking right, and getting all the, doing all these things, and everyone was praising him for it. And it was like, Mike was the best thing since sliced bread. Now, where's your loyalty? Because now that he's stuck up, no one's standing by him anymore. He did make a mistake. But it's hypocritical to now come back and then say, Mane sucks. He can't kick. But when he had the 100% kicking ratio, then he could kick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he proved that he can kick. It's just, he's obviously, there's stuff he's got to work on still, which again, like Hersh said, he's got, I think, 11 or something tests. Like, this is a big stage to be tested. I mean, let's be real. We could go call out a guy in the Australian team that I'm pretty sure can't kick off properly. Never mind kick to goal properly. And we're not going to do that. So.
Just so that people don't misunderstand, we do realize that 3 points are a lot in a high stakes game. We do realize that is a problem in a high stakes game. We do realize that. That is not the point. The point is when people make mistakes that every other person can make.
And has made.
Or has made, yes. It is not necessary to climb into their character because of it. Okay. It's not necessary. It doesn't achieve anything.
Exactly. All right, guys, let's get on to the game. So South Africa, Ireland, massive game. I mean, there was talks about this for ages. We knew it was going to be a tough one. Number 1 in the world. Unfortunately, we're not number 3 in the world, but whatever. Big game, 1 and 2 in the world. We expected a bit of a physical dominance side from South Africa. At times they showed it. I mean, they dominated the scrum. They put a lot of pressure on the lineouts. At the breakdown, maybe they didn't quite get it right. And yes, the difference on the day was the kicking at goal. But that wasn't the only thing, right? Like, that wasn't the thing that made us lose the game. We spoke a little bit earlier about maybe the strategy not being best aligned to kind of the strengths of the team. We've got Pollard back. Very likely that he's going to play against Tonga. We'll obviously see what that means if he's at the level we need him to be. I kind of mentioned over the weekend on a voice note to you guys as well that if we are all realistic, if Pollard was fit and healthy, he likely would have been the starting 10. We lost the game. There's obviously a bit of a risk now that if Scotland go and beat Ireland and we don't quite get it right against Tonga the way we want to, we could be at a bit of a risk. But let's work on the assumption that that's not going to be the case. We will get through to the quarters, likely to face France. What's your take us from the game, Matt?
Yeah, so you talk about the Ireland game.
Ireland South Africa game, yeah.
So look, I think obviously it was a close game. If you're looking at the difference between first position and second position in the world, I don't think there's much, because obviously if you look at it in terms of the points, there was like 5 points difference there. And at the end of that match, Ireland was on the back foot. And it was, I think, if you just let that game go for another minutes, would have been a different story, because they were right there on the sideline.
To add to that quickly, if we had to add all the points that were on offer that they attempted to take, it would have been like a 3-point difference with South Africa winning. I think we left 11 points and they missed a 3-pointer as well, if I remember correctly. So it would have been 19-16. So even if we took all the points on offer and every kick was perfect, like, yes, South Africa would have won the game, but ultimately it was a manhandle struggle.
Yeah, exactly. But the point I'm trying to make is that basically they have the potential to win this World Cup. It's still very evident, even with the loss of Marx, right? I think if Marx was there, I genuinely, in my opinion, feel like that's something that would have changed the game, because the breakdowns was a crucial thing there in that, and Marx, I felt, would have made a big difference in the breakdowns. And just ball possession and stuff, I think Marx would have brought more of a hindrance to Ireland in the breakdowns that would have obviously changed the situation a little bit. But it was a close game, and I just feel like there is a lot of evidence to say that South Africa has all the potential to beat them. It's just that on that day it wasn't so. And I just to end off, I just want to say, look, we can say if Marx was there, if Marx picked better, all of that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, that's not reality. So the better team won, which is Ireland. But I do feel like SA has the potential to beat Ireland, definitely.
All right, Hersh, I see you. Like, come on, I want to talk. Like, let's go. Over to you.
So, I mean, no, for me, I think it was like an arm wrestle, honest to God. It was like literally an arm wrestle of two of the biggest teams in the world. I mean, I'm actually wouldn't say biggest teams. I'm talking about like Ireland being very strategic, South Africa being very physically dominant. You know, Ireland had to outsmart South Africa. Do I think that Ireland outsmart South Africa? I do think so because they attacked the breakdown. It means that the game was like a top start for South Africa. It felt like there was no rhythm to the game compared to the New Zealand game. Our bowling play was probably about 33 minutes probably or 32 minutes. The game stopped so many times. There were so many breaks in between. Also, there was just no rhythm for anything to go on. Does it suit South Africa? Yes, it does. It does. But the physicality between the two teams was just phenomenal. I mean, my hand didn't sweat so much during a test match in such a long time, and we hyped up the whole Ireland and South Africa game. It lived up to its potential. Do I think that there could have been a little bit more happening for the game? Yes, of course. A bit more tries, maybe a little bit more of like punching tackles or something like this. I mean, like Damien Delendi looked like he was.
On the crunching tackles, I think Johnny Sexton and Ringrose are like, no.
Yes.
Okay. Shoulders are sore. I don't want to do that.
there was a moment when Daniel Delendi just like bounced people off. I mean, like every single time he did it, it was like, people dropping. I was saying on my socials, I was like, just give the ball to Damien Delendi again. I just want to see something. There's so many things that happened during the game, and for a guy like Man in the book to be in the big game like that, I mean, he matched up in the general play. It's just the kicking that he lacked, of course. But I think a lot of the players that was there picked up a lot of experience. Also, I mean, this is like high pressure, 60, 70,000 people in the crowd. Like it was just a phenomenal game.
Loud, very loud.
And
the crowd was loud.
Ireland lost a lot of their set phases, the lineouts. I think they lost like 4 or 5 lineouts. I mean, they made so many knock-ons.
6 in total.
So for Ireland, they also couldn't get going. South Africa just couldn't get going because it was just an arm wrestle. It was tense. It was tense for both teams. And I think like these two teams will walk away with the game and be like, you know what? This is the things we learned. This is the things that we need to work on. This is the things that we need to implement going forward. And I think like with the whole Tonga thing South Africa is playing with South Africa now seeing maybe it looks like they're going to play against France. With the point out, we'll talk about that in a later stage. I think these two teams will move going forward and be like, you know what, that was a hell of a test. And you know what, I think all of them passed the test. And I mean, like, I can't wait to see them playing against each other again. I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love it.
Then do you think it's an Ireland South Africa final?
I mean, like we're talking about the two biggest teams in the world, right? We're talking about South Africa, the world champions, number 2, and Ireland, number 1. 16 games undefeated, or 17 games undefeated. So, 16. In the end of the day, like...
That equal the record, I think, in the semi, if they win the semi. That equal the record.
Correct.
Consecutive.
So, I mean, like, France and New Zealand, those two teams, you cannot write them off. If they have the 20 minutes... If they have the 20 minutes that they have against South Africa in the championship,
do you think it's going to be an Ireland South Africa final?
No, I got on to that day. Oh, that's like putting me on the spot.
But I mean, then it's got to be Ireland. Then it's got to be South Africa, New Zealand, because I don't see anyone else.
That will be great, but I can tell you now, like with the 4 nations that France, New Zealand, South Africa, and Ireland. I mean, it's the same that, we don't have to see those 4 teams playing in the semifinals and rather knocking each other out in the quarterfinals with a draw. Like, I don't know who draws the full stages. Like, it doesn't make sense. But If I keep,
That's a different video. That's a different video. That's a different podcast. That's a different discussion. But part of it was because of the parents, just for context.
so I do think that I don't know. I'll give this to Matt there. Like this is not for
He
me.
says no because he doesn't know. That's what is your take? Do you think it's going to be a South Africa Ireland final?
Nah, I'll say it straight. I
uh,
think it's going to be a Northern Hemisphere showdown between France and Ireland. But I think, just because of the way they've been playing so far. Look, I know they're on a high, but I've heard the interview. They've been saying we are not interested. Ireland said we are not interested in this win against South Africa. It means nothing to us. We are worried about the World Cup. So their mindset is in a right place. So people would make the mistake of thinking, you know what, these guys are on a high and they're euphoric and they think that they're untouchable now. They don't. They have a good mindset about this game. And France,
I think Ireland,
I say BS to that. I say BS to that.
he wants to hold on to his South Africa.
I think Ireland's going to beat them. I don't think New Zealand has what's going to be required to beat them in the quarters.
I feel New Zealand are a sleeping giant. I know we've been all underestimating them.
Come here with your back. Go away. You've already called them out. They're not in the final. You said Ireland, France.
Okay, fine, fair enough. I don't think, but I'm telling you that they are, if they're going down, they're taking somebody with them. Definitely, they take.
Sexton's right shoulders already not. They would have watched that game and go like, Sexton and Ringrose, the right shoulders are not okay. Damien, thank you. We're going to talk about that.
I think with the whole Ireland and South Africa game, Ireland was like, you know what, like South Africa is the informed team. They looked at that game and be like, let's see where we are at. Let's see where we are at the world stage. Because let's be honest, like the rest of the world, besides France, without Dupont, let's be honest, Dupont is just a different animal. You know, the stuff that he does.
We'll talk about it a little bit at the end. We'll talk about it a little bit.
I get it, but what I'm trying to say is that with Ireland playing against South Africa, they were just like, it's almost like, you know, you want to play against the best player and just to see where you are at, if you're good enough or not. And I think Ireland, when they were doing the arm wrestling against South Africa, they were like, okay, cool, we see where we are. And that's why both of these teams are going to walk away. Both of these teams are going to walk away and be like, this is the things that we need to work on or not. What I want to say is this. These two teams, South Africa and Ireland, they have an identity. They know who they are. They know what they want to do. They know how they want to implement it. I think the one team that actually came up right was Ireland with their breakdowns. They killed our breakdowns. We had scruffy ball, and maybe it could be a little bit where the referee could have stepped in to be like, hey guys, you know what? Like there's borderline 50-50 calls that's going to be happening here, and I'm going to have to trade to South Africa.
You think being a New Zealander, you would have been like, oh, that's South Africa. We don't want to face Ireland in the quarters. You remember last year, we don't want to face them again. But he opted, he was like, you know what, New Zealand can take on Ireland, it's fun.
You guys don't realize that you're hanging on a thin thread as well. You're skating on thin ice. You got Bongi over there. All you need is for Bongi to get injured. I'm telling you, Bongi gets injured, you guys are through.
Why would you put that out there? It's all right. We got Marco van started. He's all right. We can do it. Marco, you're number one in our eyes.
But Dwebe has to come then. Dwebe has to come. There's no doubt about it. Dwebe has to come.
Let's not have that discussion. Bongi is not going to get injured. Don't fuck with that. Just leave it out there. Just leave it alone.
The physical game that you guys play is just a matter of time.
I'd be more worried that Bongi's going to be injured in practice than at the game, apparently.
For the guys, the way we play against each other, that's even more terrifying, right?
I read Bongi's not practicing, bro. They're like, it's fine. We know what you got. Just you've got a knee goal. You don't need to.
The bomb squad will have no more fuse. Basically, if that happens, you cut the fuse of the bomb squad.
No, look, guys, I'm gonna say it. I think based off this weekend, and obviously with the Dupont and France stuff, which we'll talk about a little bit about now, I think there's a solid chance that it's Ireland, South Africa in the final. Like I said, I don't think New Zealand's gonna have what it takes, and I don't see the other sides of the pool. Look, Wales was good, and we'll talk about Wales, Australia now. Wales was good over the weekend. I just don't think they're going to have what it takes to take out an Ireland or anyone from Pool A, B side. I And look, obviously, maybe a little bit of loyalty to South Africa. I think they'll take France. So we get onto that at a different point. So over to Oz, Wales. I don't really want to call them the Wallabies because that is not the team we know, and it's not good for what happened. Because
it's the Wallabies, Wallabies.
the wannabes.
Are you saying they're the
Walla-
wannabes now? The
No,
wannabes.
Wallabies,
Wallabies.
Okay.
No, look, guys. I mean, all joking aside, obviously, the reality is Australia won't make it through to the quarters, which the first time ever, biggest World Cup loss, biggest loss against Wales. All the records they didn't want. I think Fozzie and Jones, and maybe that's why Jones got old. What's the New Zealand coach that he got in there? What's his name? The previous New Zealand coach, whatever, man.
Michael Cheika.
No, not
No,
Cheika. Cheika's with
New
Argentina,
Zealand.
man. New Zealand coach, the one that came to...
Oh, the New Zealand coach. Steve Hansen.
Steve Hansen.
Yeah, Hansen. Maybe that's why he got Hansen in here. He was like, listen, Fozzie's going for the records. Which ones do I need to break to match it up? But, yeah, look, all jokes aside, Wales demolished Australia. And I see, Herschel, you shook your head there when I said Wales obviously played well. Against an Australian side that's shocking, they looked good. Were they exceptional? No. But, Anscombe obviously having to come on early also changed that dynamic a bit, but he was good. I mean, he was, put 23 points on the board. Yeah, I mean, the captain, Morgan, Jack Morgan, was bloodied and bruised and beaten, and got me some nice fantasy points over the weekend as well. That little breakaway on the inside. It was a good game to watch for Wales because we've obviously been a little bit worried whether they're up to scratch. It looked like they had a little bit of something still, but against just an Australian side that honestly didn't look like they knew how to play rugby this weekend. It's like they forgot all the basics. Everything was just shocking. I mean, Matt, what did you take on the Eddie Jones and Aussie saga over the weekend?
Look, as usual for them, it's been a disappointment. Outplayed, just basically catching a hiding of their lives on the field, and I think from the first half, it was just after that they knew that they were done. So it's I think it's what it seems to me is that. I can imagine, because I know Eddie. I've seen Eddie Jones and how he reacts to things. I can imagine the amount of argument and shouting happening in the locker rooms. I can imagine the morale, and I think they, as much as everyone's like, they put them on this pedestal where they expect them to perform, and it's just not happening. I think at this point, the team just wants to get this thing over with and go home. That's what I feel. I see it in the way they're playing. It's like, I don't know. It's like that spark's not there no more.
Will Portugal take them then?
No.
I want to say no. Even
a part of me thinks Portugal would be looking at them going, that team that came out in that second half they were not there for the game. They'll be like, listen,
when Portugal is actually going like this, I think I got this. But I don't think it will happen. I just want to say that, Eddie did come in January, check her out. And Eddie has picked a very young side for the World Cup. I mean, he left out Rupert, he left out Cooper. I mean, he left out a lot of players that would have actually done a lot for Australia rugby in this World Cup now. But he has a plan. I do think he has a plan to get up Australia for the next World Cup again. And I think a lot of people don't realize
27 is a lot of
correct. And a lot of people don't understand this. England also went through a lot like this. I think it was before they won the World Cup. They went through a drought. I mean, they were losing games left, right, and center, 50s. They were getting demolished. And then that after World Cup in 2003, things just clicked for them with Jones in them. So, I think Australia has a plan. I think they have a vision of what they want. They're going through all the dips, the lows, and all the criticism and stuff like this. And what Eddie Jones is doing I think is quite amazing is like he takes all the pressure, takes all the shine, takes everything. The players, no one is talking about what players missing tackles and all those things. Eddie's taking everything because Eddie has been there. None of these players have been in social media limelight when it comes to rugby union, in footy. I mean, in Australia, most of these people are just playing AFL or NRL. You know, club rugby is dying out. I mean, club rugby
I think when I did Australia, rugby in Australia was like the fifth
is not
sport.
like South Africa. It's not like England. It's not all those places. It's literally dying out in Australia. And they are literally just holding on to certain players or a squad of players or getting a group of players that will take them through to the next World Cup in 2027. So,
Okay, Hersh, just Hersh, your
Australia
sound,
can
your
lose now.
sound.
It's
Hersh,
fine. They'll
just,
take it.
just,
They'll put it on the chin. But Eddie
hey,
Jones has a
Hersh,
plan. Don't throw him away. You cannot hear
okay,
me?
your sound is, it's
Thing
very
happened.
soft. Oh, you disconnected your headset.
Sorry, guys.
So you just can't take Hersh anyways, guys. Can't work technology. Fine. We'll just carry on. But so look, I mean, as Hersh said, they, you realistically came here with a plan for 2027. I don't think this is quite how you would have wanted, this World Cup to go. I mean, there's a couple of comments I'll make on selection and the change, for example, with Donaldson and Carter Gordon. Maybe that wasn't the right call, all things considered. I mean, he backed Gordon and pulled him out against a critical game. But again, we don't know all the logistics. It is sad for World Rugby that Australia has fallen as far. I mean, we joke about it, but Australia and New Zealand and South Africa and all the tier one nations have always seen these as the big competitions. So yeah, it's sad that it's happening, but hopefully the plan that they're working with, it comes together. We'll probably see over the next year or two how that pans out.
It is literally 39 degrees here. 59 degrees. It's hot here.
I want to wrap up quickly on DuPont because we're already 35 minutes in. So France DuPont. Obviously DuPont's now had surgery, guys. The kind of news out the camp has been that he'll be ready for semis. Obviously, we'll see what that looks like. So yesterday it came out that he's now also seeing specialist for a mask. He's trying to come back for the quarters. So we might see DuPont 2.0. A little facial jewelry.
My name is
But that
Zorro.
also,
Zorro.
but that's also what we love about rugby, right? Like how much it fucking means that he's like, I will come play with whatever the hell's happening in my face. Give me a mask. I don't care. Like, this is my team. I will be there. And that is, I suppose, the big thing for France is kind of the level that he brings with. Obviously, if he isn't there, that could make things difficult for him. I mean, Matt, do you think the mask is gonna be enough to protect his face? Will he get the all clear for quarterfinals? And if he does, what does it mean for them versus not if he doesn't?
I'm going to ask you actually, Ruan. Like, what do you think about the point? Like, do you think it's a risk by taking him, bringing him in the quarterfinals, and risk to lose him in semifinals again in the final? Is the win?
I think I mean, I'll be honest. I've kind of pointed this out on some of our WhatsApp chats and everything that they've put so much pressure on a DuPont that he is the guy that's going to take them there. That I think more than anything, the team believes without him, they're at risk, right? I think he's obviously an exceptional player. There's no doubt in that. People saying he's the best player in the world. We had those with Rui de Prier and Aaron Smith at a stage, and there's been a few of them over the years. But there's generally always been good people around them that when those people aren't available, the team doesn't fall apart. I think if we look at the Uruguay-France game, Uruguay put a bit of pressure on them early on, and that was obviously not the first-string France team. And that kind of shows the risk with them with their depth. And I don't think if they have enough depth without him to take on any of the potential teams that have to face in the quarters. So I would say it's a risk that have to take. To say, look, he needs to ideally be there. But obviously, from a personal health perspective, I don't know if that's necessarily the right call. It might just mean, though, that with that hit, I don't think they're going to make it past the quarters against South Africa. Even with him there, it's going to be a hard day's work. I think without him, I just don't know that their backup nine has enough to manage that game from the base the way that France always does from their 9. And especially with Ntamak out as well. Those were their 2 key pivotal roles. And I don't know if they have the depth there to replace that. So, yeah, I think it's a calculated risk. And that's obviously why it's happening as well. That's why they haven't pulled him out. That's why, they're looking at the masks because they know without him, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know if you guys add anything on that, but
yeah, I'd like to add something on. So this is basically the argument I have. It's a difference of opinion, but I've always believed that obviously a 15-man team is a 15-man team. Everyone needs to pull their weight in that team. I don't believe that you can have one star player that carries the whole team. It's impossible. Whoever's played rugby knows this. You can't have any weakness in that 15-man squad can be exploited. Now, yes, I know you're going to say, okay, Dupont then is the weakness. But remember something. These are international players. The substitute for Dupont is a specialist scrum off. It's not like they're taking someone from flank and putting him there at scrum off. So the guy can do the job. Not as good as Dupont, but he can do the job. The rest of the players there will support him, and I feel like the thing is that they will change their strategy to make up for the loss of Dupont. So they know that they've got good kickers. So I feel like against South Africa, they will use that to their advantage. They have their team. They still have a strong team without Dupont. It could be better. They could perform better with Dupont there, but they still have everything it takes to work without Dupont. Dupont coming back with a mask. Wait, hold on about that now. So I saw with Adi Sabia, there was a mask that he used to wear. Not even within the first half, he ripped the whole mask off. He couldn't play with the thing, and I feel like it's a hindrance. I don't know because it's his jaw. I know Adi was covering his face. It fogged his vision up, so he had to throw it out. I don't know how this mask is going to look, but I know with rugby, I don't know. There's just something you have to play comfortable, and I think being with a mask, I think it's going to irritate him and hinder his game in a way. But yeah, I still feel that they have all the potential to get to the finals.
Yeah, look, let's not take away anything from Gaultier, right? Like he's done an exceptional job with that French team. I mean, they've fundamentally changed from what we used to know France rugby as, just being the flair in the moment. Some games every now and then. They are a very different team. Again, we'll obviously talk about that at a later stage in more detail. So I'm not taking that away at all, and I'm not saying they're completely at a loss. I just think my opinion is, like I said, it's going to be difficult for them without it. But I don't think he should play with the mask. But if he does, yeah. Fish, you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think the point is going to come back. Like I totally disagree with Matt in saying that they have it's not it's a 15-man game. Like, yeah, correct, it is a 15-man game, but like everybody knows, the point is probably the best player in the world right now. I mean, he's built like a scrum. He's built like a center. Like his physique is built like a center. And he's quick. He's a bit short, but I mean, like, his physicality when he hits contact. I mean, for a small guy like that, the amount of contact that he takes and the amount of tackles that he breaks, it's ridiculous. And he has a speed almost as quick as his speed as a wing. Like his kicking ability out of hand. His passing, his decision making is different. His decision making is putting France on the front foot in a lot of times. So where other scrum halves, they would be a bit more, they're conservative with their approach. They want to just play to the flag and all that stuff. So you have two different scrum halves. You have Dupont and the rest of the world of the scrum halves. There's no scrum half like Dupont. I mean, like he is just a different machine when it comes to, and then he's a captain, and he's also like, he's like our Malcolm Marx basically that we're missing right now. Malcolm Marx just brings a different element to the game, steals the ball when they need it to be stolen. Like I'm not saying that our other hookers in South African team doesn't do that, but like Malcolm Marx and the point for me, it's like two biggest They're like the two game changers that we need. Now, will France actually
Yeah,
risk?
they're a player that in the moment just swings something.
Correct. Just changes the game, like game changers, basically. Do I think that France will beat South Africa? I mean, let's be realistic. There's no way that Scotland is going to beat Ireland. Ireland is just like a well-suited team, and they're not going to play the second string team against Scotland. So
No, they'll go.
they will full force. They want to make sure Scotland will not lay down, of course. And if Scotland needs to win, they need to win and make sure that Ireland doesn't get a bonus point. And that's the only way that Scotland's going to go through. And that means South Africa will actually top the pool stages, and that means we will play New Zealand. So a lot of things can change depending on the Scotland and Ireland game. So we're focusing on France right now, where Scotland might just come in and be like, hey, surprise. But we know that's not going to happen. So we're already preparing for France, depending on if we're getting the 5 points. But what I want to say is this, guys, is that I think that France has individual characters in their team. They do play well. They do play well as a team. But for instance, Ramos, get him anywhere in the 50 meters and get a penalty, he's going to knock it over. Getting the point in his 22 meters and he'll do something, he'll do that. France is physical. They're quick hands, and they're the type of a team that plays with flair. So with the team, if the point plays against South Africa, we need to put France under pressure to break down, slow their ball down, make sure that our defensive systems is set up quite quickly, because if the point gets snuffed around the fringes or outside, France is going to beat us. So,
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. It's been interesting. We've got 2 more weekends of pool games, and then we're going to the knockout stages. A couple of permutations. Obviously, Wales now the first official team to qualify for the knockouts. Realistically, we know some other ones have unofficially qualified. But yeah, a couple of weeks still left. Exciting rugby to come. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.